Ready to start cooking?
I'm ready to start.
Breakfast is served.
You can smell the nutmeg.
I can. That's wonderful, isn't it?
Recipes that can make you a master chef.
Now comes some technique time. And soufflés are all about technique.
On today's 700 Club.
How to do.
Oh, wow. Melt in your mouth.
You see how easy that is? Well, welcome to the 700 Club. It looks like Islamic parties are the big winners in this week's elections in Egypt. If you can imagine, the Muslim Brotherhood having control of nearly 2/3 of Egypt's new parliament.
But can Islam and democracy exist side by side in the Middle East and North Africa? And specifically, how will Christians be affected? Gary Lane has that story from Tunisia.
Nearly 1 year has passed since demonstrations in Tunisia led to the overthrow of the country's dictator and democratic elections.
Tunisians are pleased that their revolution has inspired others throughout North Africa and the Middle East. But with uprisings in places like Egypt and revolution there, also places like Yemen and Syria, the question now is, will the revolution result in democracy, or will it be something else?
This fall, a moderate Islamist party won a plurality of votes for Tunisia's new parliament. It is pledged to support secularism and democracy. Moderate Islamists also won recent elections in Morocco. Secularists in that country say they'll have to wait and see if the new government will be committed to democracy. The Muslim Brotherhood's Freedom and Justice Party, the best organized political party in Egypt, is expected to win a series of elections and gain control of parliament in that North African country. Some Egyptians, like this woman, suggest they prefer Islamic law over democracy. She says she doesn't want someone to tell her to take off her niqab when she goes to college. Her main goal, she says, is Sharia law. Are Islam and democracy compatible? Elliot Abrams says Islamic countries like Malaysia and Indonesia have embraced democracy. He suggests Arab countries may too, if they adjust their culture. In Syria, what started as demonstrations last spring has now turned into an all-out civil war. The Free Syrian Army appears to be growing in force. Abrams says the Assad regime's days are numbered.
I think the regime is doomed, but unfortunately it isn't doomed fast enough. Before the end comes, which I expect would be sometime next year, you could see a lot more people killed.
And the fall of the Assad regime, Iran's only Arab ally, would be unwelcome news in Tehran.
For years and years now, it's looked as if Iran is the rising power. To lose Syria would all of a sudden suggest it has stopped. This rise of Iran, the growing Iranian influence in the whole region, maybe it's peaked, and maybe we can turn it around now.
Nina Shea worries about the rise of an extreme form of Islam in the region and its effect on Christians.
I think that the last greatest hope for these people and for religious freedom is the United States government. I don't think the U.S. government gets it. I don't think the administration understands, is informed, or cares.
Shea says the United States needs to use the political and economic leverage it has to pressure emerging democracies in the Arab world to protect Christians and other religious minorities. In the case of Egypt, that leverage is U.S. dollars. Washington sends the Egyptian military about $1.2 billion annually.
We're funding them. We're going to continue to fund them. We've got to get something in return.
Gary Lane, CBN News.
Well, please be in prayer for the nation of Israel. We have a situation developing where in Egypt they've traded a dictatorship for what looks like an emerging theocracy. Keep in mind the Muslim Brotherhood, they were the group that assassinated Anwar Sadat after the peace treaty that he signed with Israel. How historic that was, that the leader of Egypt went to the Knesset and recognized Israel's right to exist and signed a treaty with them declaring peace. Now the very group that assassinated him is now looking to form a coalition government in Egypt. So what was a great promise, the Arab Spring, could it turn into some kind of horror for the nation of Israel and for peace in the Middle East? So please be in prayer for it. I'm very concerned about this development. and throughout the Middle East. You look at Turkey, what was a long-standing friendship with Israel, that's now evaporated. What would replace the government in Syria? We don't know. The promise of Tunisia now turns to be Islamic as well. So we're in for a whole new look at governments in the Middle East. Lee Webb has the rest of our top stories from the CBN Newsroom. Lee?
Gordon, Christians in the UK took to the streets this week to boldly proclaim they're not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ. They also prayed for their nation, which has become increasingly hostile to Christianity. Mark Martin has the story from London.
Thousands of people all over the UK gathered for the Not Ashamed Day 2011, as well as the 2 Chronicles 7:14 prayer rally, including here in London. You can see hundreds of people behind me praying and praising God in front of St. Paul's Cathedral. As Paul stated in the Bible under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit that he was not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ, so too these Christians are making the same proclamation that the true hope for the UK is turning back to Jesus.
And we want to reach out to them in love and proclaim the hope and the truth that is found only and supremely in our Lord and Saviour Jesus Christ.
The thing that stops me taking crack cocaine every day is that Jesus Christ took the root out of addiction of my heart. He didn't just put something else in place. He took something out and then he put something else in.
To see young people, students, people in their 20s, youth, calling the rest of the church to come and pray, calling them onto the streets where the gospel, I think, is designed to be. I mean, the gospel is designed for the marketplace.
The Christians taking part in Not Ashamed Day and the 7:14 rally here in London are proclaiming the gospel on the same grounds of where members of the Occupy London movement have set up a tent city to protest corporate greed and social inequality and injustice. These Christians say Jesus Christ is the answer to every issue. Mark Martin, CBN News, London.
And Mark tells us that altogether 7:14 prayer rallies were held in more than 50 cities in 12 countries on 6 continents. Back here at home, the unemployment rate took a sharp drop in November, falling to 8.6%. That's the lowest level since March of 2009. But the economy added only 120,000 new jobs last month. And one reason the unemployment rate fell so much was because roughly 315,000 people gave up looking for work and were no longer counted as unemployed. Israel's defense minister rules out an attack on Iran for the moment. Ehud Barak made the comment on public radio Thursday. He said Israel will keep its options open, including a military strike. The United Nations nuclear watchdog agency recently reported Iran is still developing nuclear technology, including designing an atom bomb. Barak said that Israeli opinion on the subject has not changed, that a nuclear Iran is unacceptable, and Israel is determined to stop that. The possible military showdown with Iran is not stopping Israelis from doing this weekend what they always do, observing the Sabbath. John Waggy explains.
Friday afternoon in Jerusalem. The streets are busy now, but the nation is preparing to rest. Every week, Israelis and Jews around the world get ready for Shabbat, the Jewish Sabbath. They take care of last-minute errands, shopkeepers begin closing, and by late afternoon, quiet begins to descend in the heart of the city. After spending time at the Western Wall or in the synagogue, they sit down for the Sabbath meal and begin the day of rest. Christians also remember the Sabbath by going to church, but in a society bombarded with information and lured by all kinds of entertainment options, it's easy for many to lose sight of the fourth commandment. Connecticut Senator Joe Lieberman is a former vice presidential candidate and one of the busiest people in Washington, but he's made the Sabbath an integral part of his life. In a new book, The Gift of Rest, Senator Lieberman makes the case that honoring the Sabbath can be a real blessing, whether you're Jewish or not.
And for more, let's go back over to Gordon.
Well, Senator Joe Lieberman joins us now from Washington. Senator, welcome back to the 700 Club.
Gordon, great to be back. Great to be back with you, and all my best to your dad. He's a great man.
Well, thank you very much. We're in the middle of a lot of different crises around the world. It seems like Democrats and Republicans can't even stay in the same room, and yet you've written a book on the Sabbath. Why?
Well, I reached a point in my life where I kind of look back and, I've decided not to run for the Senate again. You start to think about, well, what have I done? I'm proud of some things, didn't feel good about others. But then I said, I've got something that's part of my life that if I can share with people, maybe one of the greatest legacies or gifts I can give, and that's the Sabbath, the observance of the fourth commandment, to remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy. And although it is a commandment from God to Moses and the rest of us that have followed, I experience it as a gift. And I thought I wanted to share that gift now, particularly at a time in our country when people work very hard, when a lot of people are down about their economic prospects. A lot of people are totally controlled by their cell phones and Blackberries and iPads. Stop one day, and what I'm saying, this is the Lord's Day, and you stop to remember what the fourth commandment says, that we're not here by accident. God made the heavens and the earth and put humans on it. And to thank God for that, and also to create a sanctuary in which you not only pray and make time to be with God, but also to be with your family and your loved ones and yourself.
One of the enduring images from your book was, the picture of you walking home on Friday so you wouldn't break the Sabbath. And I'm going, if a busy senator could keep the Sabbath at that level, I frankly was a little bit ashamed. I'm going, sometimes I'm working on Saturday and Sunday, and I'm going, if Joe Lieberman can do it, I can do it.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, Gordon. The commandment to observe the Sabbath has some specifics to it. In the Bible, don't start a fire. But over the generations, people have asked rabbis, can I do this, can I do that? And the rabbis created a lot of prohibitions to protect the Sabbath as a day of rest. And one of those is that unless it's an emergency, you're not supposed to drive your car. And so if the Senate is meeting late on a Friday night, I walk home. And as I describe in the book, if it happens to start to rain hard, and I occasionally look up to the heavens and say, "Dear Lord, is this really what you want me to be doing?" But I know that it's the tradition I've accepted to honor the Sabbath and to protect it as a day of rest. And I've got to tell you, the busier I've become, not surprisingly, the more important Sabbath has become to me and my family, because my family always knows, no matter what Daddy's doing during the week, and he can't come home for dinner this night or that night, we're going to be with him that time from sunset Friday to sunset Saturday.
I'll tell you one of my own stories of trying to keep the Sabbath, and I was trying to keep it on the Orthodox level, and I had gotten a book of the Torah and taken one of the rabbinical translations with all the commentary, and I was going to spend my Saturday with the Torah. And in order to make sure I was going to be kosher, I had set aside some vegetable broth that would be just for me, and that would be my food for the day. And I just finished reading Don't Kindle a Fire. I just finished reading that. And I go into the kitchen, and I want to warm up my vegetable broth. I've got a stove with a, you can see the gas flame. I turn that thing on, and immediately I go, I just read it, and I just violated it all in the same 10 minutes.
Hey, Gordon, I love that story, and I love you for trying to do that. I will tell you that the rabbis have ordained over the years, since electricity came along, that if you light an oven before the Sabbath begins, you can keep it on through the Sabbath. So that's one way we keep the food warm on the Sabbath day.
Lot of good tips. What would you say would be the best tip from your book for a Gentile to start observing? What would be the best thing that they could do?
Right. As you were kind enough to say, I tell the story. Basically, I take the reader through a traditional Sabbath according to Jewish practice with my family and me. But I say right at the outset, this book is written not just for Jews. It's particularly written for Jews and Christians and anyone else who is interested in it, because obviously Sabbath is so much a part of Christian theology and practice. as well. And at the end of every chapter, I have a little section, a page maybe, that I call Simple Beginnings. How can people who want to bring more Sabbath into their life do so? One of them, which is very modern, I referred to before, turn your BlackBerry and your cell phone off. I mean, it's such an interruption so often. The second thing, if you don't go to a church or a synagogue on your Sabbath, try it. And keep going until you find one where the community there is one in which you're comfortable. Some things are not particularly religious, but may make a sense of Sabbath for you. Have a meal on that Sabbath day at which all the members of the family are expected to be there, and the BlackBerries and cell phones are turned off. And you agree that you're not going to just talk about nonsense. Maybe you're going to talk about faith, about the Bible. Maybe you're just going to talk about personal matters that you haven't had the time to talk about during the week. The final thing I always like to mention, and as I wrote the book, I thought, gee, if there's one thing I could convince people to do, it happens on the Sabbath in the traditional Jewish home, but it's not necessarily a part of the Sabbath, and it is Friday night, traditionally, around the dinner table in the house, we bless each of our children. I go to each of them, put my hands on their shoulders or their head, and I say the priestly benediction from the Bible, which of course is very well known to Jews and Christians. May the Lord bless you and keep you, make his face to shine upon you, grant you the gift of peace, essentially. And then I give each of the kids a hug and a kiss, and it's a very special time. And I say in the book, I believe, or maybe I don't, that my oldest is now 44, son. And when he comes home, and he's with us on the Sabbath, he's no longer that little boy. He's 6'4". I can't touch his head anymore. I got to put my hands on his shoulders. He wants to be blessed, and because I think it's a way of saying to the child every Friday night, every Sabbath, you're a blessing to me. Maybe even particularly important after a week, if you have teenagers where you're not so sure your kids are a blessing, but it's a good reminder that they are.
All right. Well, thanks, Senator. The book is called The Gift of Rest. It's available in stores across the country. You look at the observance of the Sabbath. I think one of the great miracles is the surviving of Jewish culture over 4,000 years, 2,000 years of which without their own homeland. And you look at how did that happen? Well, it's because the families got together. They observed the Sabbath, and they did exactly what Senator Lieberman suggested. So, Senator, Shabbat Shalom.
Gordon, Shabbat Shalom. Forgive me for just adding one thing. There's a famous Israeli writer who said it's not so much that the Jewish people have kept the Sabbath as the Sabbath has kept the Jewish people, which is exactly what you said. Thank you for being such a great friend of the Jewish people and for building such strong bridges between Christians and Jews. God bless you, and Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you. God bless. Terry?
Well, coming up, from ancient architecture to talking robots, get a look at what goes into every episode of Superbook. That's coming up next.
Coming up.
When you learn how to do it, it actually gets quite easy.
A souffle that's perfect for Christmas morning.
I mean, that is like an explosion of taste.
Or any other holiday.
If you want to make a Christian joke, you can say, he is risen.
Great Easter dish. Great Easter dish.
What makes the miracles of Jesus even more miraculous? Standing where they happened, in Israel. Come visit Capernaum, where Jesus restored a paralytic's helpless legs. Sail the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus walked on the water. Stroll through the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus healed a servant's ear. To learn more about standing where it all happened in Israel, visit www.goisrael.com. Come visit Israel.
Have you ever heard the expression, good as gold? Well, gold is on everybody's minds these days, and rightfully so, having risen in value dramatically since 2001. For years now, I've been singing the praises of one of the most recognized and trusted names in gold, Swiss America. They believe, like I do, that people need to know what's good about gold. Gold has withstood the test of time, and so has Swiss America. Now's the time to rediscover gold, because gold offers diversification, profit potential, and best of all, privacy. Call or visit online now and ask for the Pat Boone DVD, and they'll gladly rush out a copy along with other information about getting gold into your nest egg. If you're going to buy gold, buy it from a company you can trust. I did. And I've been a satisfied Swiss America customer for over 15 years. They are as good as gold. Call or log on right now.
Monday. It's the latest entry of a best-selling video game. Hear how these games have inspired the U.S. military.
You're actually playing it in person. You're dealing with real people.
Plus, the Food Network's Sandra Lee will show you how to deck the halls without breaking the budget.
What a great gift. Look at that.
Monday on the 700 Club.
Did you know that in the movie Spartacus, they used a shield that wasn't invented until 100 years after the movie took place? Or that in Cleopatra, you see a monument that wasn't built until centuries after her death? Well, they're just examples of Hollywood not doing its own homework. But as you're about to see, that's not something you have to worry about when watching the new Superbook. Take a look.
I am taking you to meet a man who stood up for what he believed was right.
When you're watching Superbook, you're not just watching an animated Bible story. You're also watching one of the most accurate portrayals of the ancient Middle East ever put into a cartoon.
It appears we are in ancient Babylon, approximately 500 BC.
Every detail and every shot has been checked for historical accuracy, from the clothes to the armor, even down to the tapestries in the background. If they didn't have it back then, they're not going to have it in Superbook.
What could possibly be so important?
Here's an example. Take a look at this shot. It's only up there for a few seconds, so if you blink, you might miss it. Now, that massive blue structure is called the Ishtar Gate. It was built by King Nebuchadnezzar in 575 BC and faithfully reconstructed by our Superbook animators 2,500 years later. Now, believe it or not, that gate is still around, only it's not in Babylon anymore. It's now standing in a museum in Germany. Our producers saw the gate and made sure that when we drew it, we had the right colors, the right size, and all those lions on the wall facing in the right direction.
And the reason is we want to let children know that this is a real place and a real time, and this is an historical event that happened.
And it's not just the backgrounds.
What is the meaning of this outrage?
Take this handsome fellow. His name is Darius the Great. He was the reigning monarch of the Persian Empire between 522 and 486 BC. He's believed to be the guy in charge of Babylon in the years after the Jewish exile, and he's also thought to be the Darius referred to in the book of Daniel.
You are wise above all men in my kingdom.
Well, we didn't just draw him to sport the ZZ top beard because it was cool. That's actually the way he looked.
Even a king can be uncertain about what is right.
The more historically accurate we can make them, the longer the series will last.
But it's not just the look that's important. The foundation of any Superbook episode is the Bible story, whether it's Daniel in the lion's den or Moses or creation. We want to be sure that the story that's being told by us matches up with the story being told in the Bible, even down to the dialogue, which comes directly from the scriptures.
Long live the king!
My God sent his
angel to shut the lions' mouths so they would not hurt me, for I have been found innocent in his sight.
Ultimately, the goal of Superbook is to teach kids around the world about the Bible. That's why this series will be translated into 18 languages. We hope that in the next few years, 300 million children will hear stories from Genesis to Revelation through Superbook, and many of those kids will be hearing about the Bible for the first and only time through this program. That's why we're such a stickler for accuracy. We just added the talking robot.
Well, the calendar says December, and that means the Christmas countdown is on. And this year, Chris, Joy, and Gizmo are learning about the true meaning of Christmas. And we want you to as well. Just watch this.
In time for Christmas.
And the winning ticket is...
I won! All those gifts are mine! This is what Christmas is all about.
Give the gift you know and trust to those you care about the most.
Superbook!
Join the Superbook DVD Club and get Superbook's newest episode, The First Christmas, and 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of $25.
Go search for the young child, and when you've found him, bring back word to me.
Do you think that they could be the ones who are having the baby King Herod was talking about?
Your membership means the fun and learning keep coming every month. With your continued monthly support, you'll receive 3 copies of each new episode.
Jesus has been born. Come, let us adore him.
Superbook DVD Club. It's a brand new way to give a strong spiritual foundation to the children you love in a way they'll love to watch. Superbook, The First Christmas, available now.
We've got The First Christmas available for you, and what we're asking you to do is help with the production cost of the series. We want to produce as many as 104 episodes. But we need help financially in order to make these episodes happen. So if you want to contribute to Superbook and at the same time get a wonderful Christmas gift for the children and grandchildren in your life, just call us and say, I want to be part of the Superbook DVD Club. Now, what that means is for a gift of $25 or more, you join the Superbook DVD Club and you get the one in the full DVD case, and then we'll send as something special for you. We'll send 2 others to you in these smaller cases, and we want you to give them away. We want you to give them away to the people that you love. You can, neighbors, friends, family. You'll get 3 of them for a gift of $25 or more. And now, when you join the club, what that means is every 4 to 6 weeks, as the new episodes are completed, you'll be first in line to get them, and we'll charge your credit card or your debit card $25, and we'll send you the same 3 of the new episode. In January, we're looking for the story of Daniel to be completed, so you'll get that one in January. So if you want to join that club, call us right now, 1-800-759-0700. If you don't want to join the club, you just want to say, I just want the Christmas episode, that's okay. For a gift of $25, and that's a one-time thing, we'll send you the DVD. We won't send you the 2 extras, so you just get the 1 DVD. Call us now, 1-800-759-0700, or you can order it online, cbn.com. Please order before December 5th. That's the day we can guarantee Christmas delivery. So do it by December 5th if you want to make sure you have them in time for Christmas.
Mm-hmm. Great Christmas gift.
Yes.
Well, coming up, kick off Christmas the right way with a 5-star souffle. And you can get this special holiday recipe. That's coming up next.
Over 100,000 people have already had a lifestyle lift.
I had my lifestyle lift in 2007, and I'm still loving it.
Lifestyle Lift, a life-changing procedure with lasting results.
I feel great. Can you see this? It's awesome.
Lifestyle Lift is America's expert for a younger-looking face. Call now to learn how you can receive a free information kit. Want a younger-looking face? Call America's expert.
I'm 70 and I feel great.
Call now.
Something inside of me just told me I need to get checked out. The doctor said we found something and we need to get into surgery.
Beth Gomez had stage 3 colon cancer.
That's when we scheduled an appointment for a second opinion at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
To find out more about treatment options for complex and late-stage cancer, go to cancercenter.com. You'll be able to see our treatment results for many types of cancers and how they compare to national averages. You can also check for participating insurance plans. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, every resource, every one of us, everything we do every day is focused on you, our patient, your treatment, your healing, your survival.
You had a whole team. I wasn't just going to fight this battle. They were going to stand beside me and fight it.
Our physicians, clinicians, and nurses are highly experienced and dedicated. We use state-of-the-art technology and give you treatment options you may not even know exist.
Cancer makes you really appreciate what's important in your life.
Please call or go to cancercenter.com today. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Care that never quits.
But while Christmas dinner with the family may get all the attention, we don't want you to forget Christmas breakfast. So I went into the kitchen with Gordon and got his recipe for making a great morning an unforgettable one. Take a look.
Today we're going to teach a family tradition from the Robertson household that I learned from my mother. And we, on Christmas morning, will have Christmas breakfast, and Mom will make a souffle. And so she taught me how to make a souffle.
Brave woman. That lady.
But when you learn how to do it, it actually gets quite easy.
What kind of souffle is it?
Mom tended to make the cheddar cheese. I make the Gruyere with Parmesan. What we're trying to do, though, is not have it overly complicated or a huge amount of work. We're going to try to get this down to where within an hour's preparation time, you're going to be able to cook a marvelous souffle for your family with all the other trappings that we'll show you. And late Christmas morning, take a break, have a wonderful brunch together, and enjoy the day.
That's great. That's the best part of the whole morning.
Ready to start cooking?
I'm ready to start.
All right, first you have to make the souffle base. Start off with half a stick of butter.
Okay.
You put that in a warm pan. You're not trying to make this too hot. You're trying to make this never brown. You just want this melted and slightly bubbling. Temperature control on this is really crucial. If you've got an electric, my recommendation is take it periodically off the heat so you're not overheating it.
You simply want it melted.
You simply want it melted and slightly frothy and bubbling, like you see there. Any wonderful butter. It needs to be whole butter, not margarine. And I prefer the unsalted. That way you can control the amount of salt. You then take 5 tablespoons of flour and you gradually add this in. You're not trying to do it all at once. And you let the flour come into the butter and you take a whisk. And when all 1 tablespoon is incorporated, you come back at it again. And this is a gradual thing. What you're trying to do here is cook out all the flour so you don't have a flour taste. You just want the effect of the flour, which is sort of the binding agent that allows things to come up nice.
Just smoothing that in with each couple tablespoons that you put in there.
You love this blonde color. All right, and then you just sort of let it sit and get happy.
Really?
And just be in there.
For how long?
Just for about a minute or so. And all you're trying to do is cook the flour so it doesn't have that sort of chalky flour taste. And it has this wonderful golden butter taste.
Awesome. So that kind of dissolves it a little bit.
Okay. Now you add some flavor components as it's cooking and just a pinch of fresh nutmeg. You're not looking to make it real nutmeggy, but just a pinch of that. And then a pinch of cayenne pepper.
Cayenne pepper?
Oh, yeah.
That looked like a little more than a pinch.
That's my pinch. A little pinch of salt.
Okay.
Salt just brings out flavor. And then you mix all that together. Next ingredient is the milk.
Here you go.
Is that warm?
It's warmed.
You need it warmed. And then you gradually add this in, and you'll see something that happens with it.
Okay.
With the milk, you're trying to get the sauce to boil. And you see it coming together?
Okay.
And for you at home, this is what you're trying to do. It looks kind of like...
mashed potatoes almost, or like a...
That's a good one, mashed potatoes. And you just keep gradually adding in the warm milk and stirring. And the reason you gradually add is that if you do it this way, it won't lump.
Okay.
You can smell the nutmeg.
I can. That's wonderful, isn't it? Just that little pinch. That's amazing.
Well, the freshly grated is the key to nutmeg, and now it's starting to look like real thin mashed potatoes.
It stays smooth. That's really great.
And now you let this come to a little bit of a boil. And you just take it easy, and you're having a nice Christmas morning. If there's any milk or flour on the side, you can always scrape it down in. One of the biggest secrets for making a souffle to rise is let your eggs be at room temperature, which means leave them out the night before. A room temperature egg will fluff a lot better
than something that's cold and refrigerated.
It does something to the egg whites that is not healthy.
Okay.
All right. Now comes the cheese. This is about a cup of Gruyere.
That's your favorite?
That's one of my favorites.
Oh, we're
and
mixing.
This is like a quarter cup, half cup of
the Parmesan?
Parmesan, all freshly grated. And you just let the heat of the sauce come into that.
Okay, the fragrance of that is pretty good.
You're getting hungry already. All right, now turn the heat off.
Okay, completely.
Completely. And we're going to do something that is sort of a nice little trick. You've got 6 egg yolks.
Egg yolks,
You're going to need 8 egg whites, 6 egg yolks, and you put your whole cheese mixture in here because you don't want to create scrambled eggs. So you use a little bit of the warm sauce, and you mix this together and stir it. And this is called tempering. And you do this because you don't want scrambled eggs.
Okay.
Make sure everything's proper temperature, matching temperatures. You want to use a spatula for this stuff because it really helps make sure you get it all.
Okay, so you're just mixing that now all into one sauce.
Right. No heat. This is all on its own, and we're all good. This is now a souffle base. Okay. And you're done.
I'm done.
And that's easy, isn't it?
Well, yes. What are those egg whites for?
Those egg whites are for this mixture.
Okay. Oh.
Now, the secret to egg whites is, again, make sure your eggs have been out all night, that they're room temperature, and you gradually bring it up to speed. When it gets to be a stiff peak, shut it off. Okay, now comes some technique time. And soufflés are all about technique. You take about 1/3 of this, 1/4 of this, and you just plop it right into there.
So gradual is kind of the name of the game of this, right?
It's gradual incorporation, gradual whisking, and then the ultimate is how to fold at the end of the game. And this, you just want to fully incorporate these egg whites into this using a whisk. You're not trying to keep the egg whites. You're trying to add fluff and volume.
Really?
All right. You got your egg whites?
Mm-hmm.
You pour directly into the middle. And you scrape all that wonderful sauce into the middle.
Boy, that just grew about 4 times.
It's going to grow some more in the oven. And the whole goal with a souffle is to keep the air in.
Inside, okay,
now. You put your spatula in this directly in the center, and you fold.
Mm-hmm.
You turn.
So you're just going to
fold, turn, fold, and you see how that process cuts up the whites, mixes in the sauce.
But doesn't take the air out.
But at the same time, you keep the air. And at the end, you still have your egg whites.
Wow.
You still have all that wonderful goodness, but they're surrounded by sauce now.
Awesome.
And that's the key to a souffle. Now.
And that's going to fit in there, huh?
Yeah. If you have leftover, it's okay.
Okay. Now, what did you do to that?
Butter and then Parmesan grated, and that creates a nice layer where it won't stick to the pan, and the Parmesan will get nice and crusty.
Ooh,
and the crusty parts of our souffle are the best parts of the souffle. So.
Wonderful. Okay.
Just pour.
Just pour.
And now all the stuff that's at the bottom comes out, and you want that in sort of in the middle on top.
Because that'll get a sort of a crust to it as well.
Yeah. You can take your spatula and sort of smooth it over. You don't want
don't push down the
stray
air, right?
things. Just smooth it over, edge it over. And then the final trick.
Okay.
And that gets the
settling it in there.
I do caution you that because these are so good, 1 will not be enough. Now, if you do 2 and you're using 8 egg whites and 6 egg yolks, you're going to have 4 egg yolks left over, and you don't want to waste them, do you?
No.
That would be bad.
That would be very bad.
Especially when you can make a wonderful sauce.
Oh.
So I'm going to teach you another sauce. This is called a Sabayon. It's a very, very simple recipe. This is my homemade double boiler. You put that on top and it traps the steam inside. And you add a 1/4 cup of sugar to 4 eggs.
Really?
And you stir it around.
Is that
and you allow the heat to start to change it. And over time, as it cooks, it starts to get blonder.
Really?
All right, as the heat starts coming to it.
Do that?
Yeah, you can.
Whoa, hello.
Hello.
Hey there.
As you do that, you then take your cider, and you're waiting for those eggs to start to turn a little more yellow. Then our souffles are done.
Oh my goodness. Yay, you! You get the award. Wow, that is unbelievable. Don't drop
If you want to make a Christian joke, you can say, "He is risen."
Great Easter dish. Great Easter dish.
He is risen indeed. Tell you what, let's just turn that off.
It's getting there.
Just let it, it's good now.
Okay.
Let's let it needs to thicken up a little bit more.
Okay.
All right, the second is the trick for bacon. Is it's real easy. You take any kind of baking sheet that's raised, cover it in tin foil, and you just lay the strips out and bake it for 20 minutes in an oven at 350.
Beautiful.
And it comes out like this every single time with every one straight and perfectly cooked. And it's a great way to cook a lot of bacon for a lot of people.
40 minutes, did you say? In 350?
20 minutes.
20 minutes in 350. Okay.
Well, just watch it and see.
Okay.
All right, proof's in the pudding, and oh yeah, oh yeah.
Unbelievable.
Oh, this is
Perfect.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Thank you. I'll take this. You take one.
I'll take one now. And the crusty part is my family's favorite. How'd I do?
Oh wow! Melt in your mouth.
You see how easy that is?
Wow. I mean, that is like an explosion of taste, isn't it? Well, y'all need to do this.
We're going to take a break.
Yeah, okay. We're going to eat here while you write down the ingredients. Or
I'm going to go back and check on the Sabayon.
Oh, Gordon, that
should
is
be
wonderful.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. It's like a custard pudding.
Not thick, but body. Has body.
Yeah. All right.
Gosh,
Now
this
is a wonderful fruit topping. You can use it on any kind of desserts. There are plenty of creative ways, and you can take it directly out of this bowl.
Wow,
and you put it on top of, I like on strawberries and all those wonderful ruby red grapefruits you can get. And this makes once you have the souffle.
It's so beautiful. Okay, can I taste?
Absolutely.
It's fabulous.
And you can have a very Merry Christmas.
I'm having a very Merry Christmas right today.
Eddie, check out this news story from the 700 Club. It's a perspective you just don't see anywhere else.
Go to CBN.com to I Saw It on the 700 Club for a fast, easy way to see and share your favorite videos.
Coming up later, a frank discussion about God, life, and other topics.
For Zach Taylor, being the first in his family to go to college is the opportunity of a lifetime.
How's the business going, Pops? Well, it's not the best of times. I want you to focus on your studies.
On December 2nd, to make the most of it,
What's going on, Zach?
he'll have to choose his moves carefully.
You have a chance to help create change.
Walmart and P&G present Family Movie Night.
Thanks, Pops.
Game of Your Life. Premieres Friday, December 2nd, 8, 7 Central on NBC.
I read the story of Corrie ten Boom. What a beautiful, beautiful story. The Hiding Place. I changed fundamentally. I discovered who I am. I discovered what was important to me and what was important to do. I asked each of my children and each member of my family to read the story of a righteous among the nations. She is my example. She and her father and her sister is who I would hope to be if, God forbid, there was a dark moment.
Call now to get your copy of the 35th anniversary edition of the classic million seller The Hiding Place by Corrie ten Boom. It will deeply touch you as it defines courage and human compassion. Go to the website or call now.
And welcome back to the 700 Club. President Obama says Americans of all faiths can unite around Christ's message of love and service. The president spoke during the ceremonial lighting of the National Christmas tree in Washington Thursday night. The president said that as a Christian, he takes to heart Christ's admonition to love God and your neighbor, and that he believes it can unite people regardless of how they worship. He urged Americans to honor Christ's words by being generous during the Christmas season by helping those in need. Operation Blessing International is using a community farm to help hungry families in the African nation of Niger. The country is suffering from a severe famine, and this year's rainy season did not produce many crops. Operation Blessing turned a large plot of land into a training facility as well as gardens. More than 300 local women use that land to plant their seedlings. Once they have grown, the plants are transported to their own farms where they can continue to grow and then harvested. Operation Blessing also built a food bank where villagers can sell their grain and buy it back at a low cost during times of drought or famine. You can find out more about what Operation Blessing is doing by going to their website at ob.org. Gordon and Terry will be back with more of the 700 Club after this.
Insight into today's events, news you don't get anywhere else, and inspiring stories of hope. Now you can share them with your friends. Go to cbn.com to I Saw It on the 700 Club for a fast, easy way to share your favorite videos.
It's Christmas time, the wonderful season when we remember the birth of Jesus Christ. 700 Club partners, this is the perfect time to make your celebration complete by helping people who are in desperate need. Your donation to CBN's Holiday of Hope will provide gifts that will help support families all year long. You give food and clothing, sewing machines and water wells, livestock for milk and cheese, job training and medical supplies, even scholarships and school materials that bring the promise of a better life. Most importantly, you preach the gospel to people lost in darkness. You can bring glad tidings of great joy this year. Your life-changing kindness will be remembered long after the ornaments and decorations are packed away. Give to CBN's Holiday of Hope. It's like inviting the world to your Christmas morning.
If you're the mother of a child with behavior problems, I'd like to talk to you. My name is Janet Lieberman, and I'm a behavioral therapist and a mom. I know what it's like when the child that you love becomes a defiant, out-of-control child who disrespects you. That's why my husband James and I created the Total Transformation, the program that tens of thousands of moms are now using to turn around their child's behavior. If you've heard about the Total Transformation and wondered if it will work for you, now you can try it for free. I'm willing to give away 1,000 programs today for free. All you need to do is get the program and let us know how it works for you. We'll let you keep it for free. I know the Total Transformation works because I used these techniques with my own son and with troubled kids for over 30 years. Let me prove to you that it works by giving you the program free.
Call the number on your screen now to get the Total Transformation free.
Monday. It's the latest entry of a best-selling video game. Hear how these games have inspired the U.S. military.
You're actually playing it in person. You're dealing with real people.
Plus, the Food Network's Sandra Lee will show you how to deck the halls without breaking the budget.
What a great gift. Look at that.
Monday on the 700 Club. The Greek philosopher Socrates said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." And that's one reason a group of New Yorkers has decided to take out time out of their busy lives to discuss what's life all about.
Should faith determine our ethics? Can people without faith be good citizens? How do we make sense out of suffering and tragedy? Best-selling author Eric Metaxas shares insights from some of the great thinkers of our time in his latest book, Socrates in the City. They ask all of us to consider some of life's biggest questions.
Well, please welcome back to the 700 Club, author Eric Metaxas. Eric, it's always good to have you here.
Pleasure to be here.
Why this book? Why Socrates in the City? Why did it start?
Well, I think ultimately living in a place like New York, now a lot of the rest of the country is like this, but New York is an extreme example where people look at faith through jaundiced eyes. There's great skepticism. They just imagine that, if you go to an Ivy League school like we went to and you're traveling in certain circles, you dismiss the basics of the faith. And we know that's ridiculous. That's not true. But I thought, a friend of mine wanted me to do maybe a Seeker's Bible study or something like that. And I came around to this idea that why don't we have a speaker's series where I could invite people in, great brains, great intellects, great writers and speakers who are believers, to talk about the big questions of life, suffering, tragedy, whatever it is. Then can science be compatible with faith and all that kind of stuff from a biblical world view. We've been doing it for 11 years. We called it Socrates in the City. And somebody said, why don't you do a book? Because these talks are so great. I want to give this to my friends or whatever, and I can't get to Manhattan. So finally we did a book. It took us 11 years, but we did it.
In a variety of ways, this is sort of reminds me this is so Upper East Side. This is so Manhattan in its focus, that it's on a real high intellectual level. At the same time, it's a group of people getting around and discussing, and you almost have this picture of, the Greek Academy. Let's sit and over merriment,
right,
talk the issues of the day. Is that what you're trying to recreate?
Well, in a way, I think the point is, first of all, I do think this is not just for Manhattanites. That's the reason we did a book, because people around the country kept saying, how can I get involved, or how can I, because everybody has skeptical friends. Let's start there, right?
Yeah.
And you say, what do you share with them? If you give them a copy of something by Pat Robertson, or you give them a copy by something by Josh McDowell or whatever, they might say, that's not for me. Well, what is for that guy? What will that guy say? Yes, I will crack it open and I will start reading. I said, I want to do something that will invite people who are not where we are to be a first step. And so that's what these talks are about. In other words, it's coming from a biblical worldview. We've had Chuck Colson, we've had Os Guinness, we've had all kinds of amazing speakers. But to me, it's a door opener. It's to open the door to people, but it's also for believers, because the Lord commands us to love Him with our whole minds. Well, how are we doing that? And I said, I think this is part of what I want it to be, something that helps us to open our minds. And let me say this. As believers, we know there are good answers to the tough questions. We're not afraid to ask, well, what about God here? What about this or what about that? Because we know, hey, we can talk all we want, but we know there's a good answer. We know how the book ends. We know that God is faithful, that God loves us. But because of that, we can have fun asking the questions. So there's a lot of humor in this book. People might not realize it, but we use humor.
What I'll call the initial objection, not just to the Pat Robertson book or the Josh McDowell book, but just to Christianity in general, that's religion,
right?
And I'm not into that. They're not going to say I'm too sophisticated for that, but they're just going to say I'm not going to follow a path of belief.
That's exactly right.
And I'll even quote Socrates, where he says, "I've come to the realization I know nothing."
Right.
And for them, just even asking the question, "What's the meaning of life?"
Right.
Is there a God? They've already determined I can't come to that conclusion.
Right. Well, see, I mean, thank you for saying that, because that's basically why we put this book together. Because I said sometimes Christians were complicit in making truth religious. Truth is not religious. 1 + 1 = 2 is not a religious truth. It's not a Christian truth. It's not a biblical truth. It's truth. God is the Lord over all truth. And we need to be able to reach out to our non-believing friends. We're all looking for truth. Now, we know who truth is.
Right.
But it doesn't matter, because every human being is created.
Who?
Well, exactly. Well,
the truth is
it's a person, and I think that the fact of the matter is that we know that, so we can relax and we can talk to people about truth, because we know if you're seeking truth, we know where it will lead you. If you're seeking with an honest heart and an open mind, we know it leads you to Jesus Christ. And so I think we need to be able to relax and have fun. I think believers, I mean, mostly these events that we do It's mostly Christians who come who I think they want to improve their minds. They want to worship God with their minds. They want to think more deeply, not just the surface level, but think more deeply so that they can engage their friends and their relatives. And so it's not all about religiosity. It's about truth. Because again, we know who is truth. So we don't have to worry about it, put it in a religious box. But these events, I have to say, they have been amazing. I can't even, I mean, folks who have seen the book or have been to these events, they have been absolutely amazing. And I think it's because we've gone out of our way to make it fun, to let people really ask questions. We shouldn't be afraid of questions. If you're religious, you're afraid of questions. Mm-hmm. But if you know Jesus in your heart, you're not afraid of questions because you know there are good answers and you know who is the answer.
And he wasn't afraid of questions. I love the first essay where you go into is faith and science incompatible?
Yeah.
And I think even Christians today sort of compartmentalize that when I'm dealing with science, I have to take God out of the equation.
Insane. Who invented science?
And when I'm dealing with faith, then science can't enter into that.
Yeah. No, I think that we need to, this is the funny thing too, because initially when we started doing these lectures, I was thinking of this for non-believers. But the more time has passed, the more I realize that we as believers need to improve our minds and really to get the theology right. What does the Bible say? What does it not say? The Bible never says that we should check our minds at the door. It says just the opposite. We're to worship God with our minds.
That's something. Let us reason together.
I mean, this is something, you know, if you want to disobey God, check your mind at the door. If you want to obey God and glorify Him, you have to allow Him to get into your mind, and we have to redeem our minds. And so, for me, that's a big part of this. So this is the sort of thing you can share with believers. But I think ultimately this would be a great gift for somebody who doesn't know what they believe, and you're not going to give them that religious book because they're just not ready yet. They're interested in truth, but they're not interested in your version of truth.
It makes a great gift. It also makes a great read. Read particularly the one, The Language of God, where the human genome is examined by the head of the Human Genome Project. To hear more on Christian thinkers, check out Eric's book. It's called Socrates in the City. It's available nationwide. Eric, thanks for being with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. God bless.
This season, experience the true meaning of Christmas with Christmas Radio on CBN.com. Christmas, a time for being home with the ones you love. A special time to help others. A time to celebrate the best gift of all, Jesus Christ. Cherish this holiday season with the ones you love. Experience Christmas Radio on CBN.com.
Monday. It's the latest entry of a best-selling video game. Hear how these games have inspired the U.S. military.
You're actually playing it in person. You're dealing with real people.
Plus, the Food Network's Sandra Lee will show you how to deck the halls without breaking the budget.
What a great gift. Look at that.
Monday on the 700 Club.
In time for Christmas.
And the winning ticket is...
I won! All those gifts are mine! This is what Christmas is all about.
Give the gift you know and trust to those you care about the most.
Superbook!
Join the Superbook DVD Club and get Superbook's newest episode, The First Christmas, and 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of $25.
Go search for the young child, and when you've found him, bring back word to me.
Do you think that they could be the ones who are having the baby King Herod was talking about?
Your membership means the fun and learning keep coming every month. With your continued monthly support, you'll receive 3 copies of each new episode.
Jesus has been born. Come, let us adore him.
Superbook DVD Club. It's a brand new way to give a strong spiritual foundation to the children you love in a way they'll love to watch. Superbook, The First Christmas. Available now.